of the season until the Grey Cup game. It's the West Division leading Calgary Stampeders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
One of the games inside the game we'll be watching here this evening is the sack race between Alex Hall, who leads the Canadian Football League with 15 on the season and counting, and a front runner for Defensive Player in 2013, Charleston Hughes, who is right behind him with 13 sacks on the season. And get the idea, Charleston Hughes loves to play this game, doesn't he?
Hughes is smiling. We'll also be tracking John Cornish in pursuit of the league lead in rushing. He starts the day 95 yards behind Corey Sheets, a winner last night in his return to the Saskatchewan Roughrider lineup. But for Calgary, a chance to move 4 points up in the West as Sandro DeAngelis kicks it off into the wind, and Larry Taylor has it. Sidesteps first contact, and now tries to get outside. And he does a lot of dancing to get to the 37-yard line. Our starters to watch are brought to you by Napa Auto Parts, where custom advice comes standard.
Kevin Glenn, 6-2 on the season for the Calgary Stampeders, gets the start in this one tonight. He has one target back in the lineup off the 9-game injured. That's big, tall Joe West, 6'1", 195. Another target in the offense. And you mentioned that rushing race. John Cornish chasing Corey Sheets of Saskatchewan. See what he can do today.
Kevin Glenn against his former team. First pass out in the flat for Maurice Price. Brandon Stewart finally wrestles him out at the Bomber bench. It's a first down on the initial play from scrimmage.
One of the strengths of the struggling Winnipeg football team this year has been their defensive line, led by Brian Turner. Of course, Alex Hall, who we mentioned, who leads the league in sacks. We'll watch his technique tonight. They get a DB back in the lineup, a veteran, 4-year veteran in Johnny Sears, who'll play the corner, and they will play with Javon Johnson at safety one more time. That's 3 straight games.
That big front four for Winnipeg, the starters combining for 35 sacks. Here's Cornish, first run off the left side and up to midfield. John Cornish with a gain of close to 6 on his first carry of the day.
Finishing strong in this regular season, 200-yard games in the last 4. Corey Sheets, 80 yards rushing last night in BC, 1,302 on the season, and there's John Cornish right behind him. Sheets missed basically 3 games. Cornish has missed 1 this season.
Second and 4, and a jump offside by Alex Hall.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 96. 5-yard penalty becomes first down.
So it is a first down, and that has been an issue for Hall this year.
Well, he wants to get that big jump, and when he does, it looks like he's offside half the time. He's got that great first step. Sometimes he's trying to get back at the quarterback. But this defensive line that are basically pass rush specialists across the board are going to have to get their nose dirty here tonight against John Cornish and stop the run as well.
Direct snap, here's Cornish. And he crashes down to the 48-yard line.
9 of 13 games, Alex Hall has had at least 1 sack. 15 on the season. He's got the speed to take a offensive tackle wide, the strength to bull rush, great change of direction, can redirect. Oftentimes will just flat out run by the guy trying to block him.
2nd and 3, back in the hands of Cornish, and a first down to the 40.
But this is a great strategy by Dave Dickinson right out of the gate for the Calgary Stampeders. Not surprised at all. Number 1, they have one of the best running backs in the league. Number 2, if you've got a great pass rushing defensive line you're facing, run the football right at them. Try and make Alex Hall a run stopper.
And Cornish excited about the challenge of catching Corey Sheets. 16 yards so far, and now a pitch, and there's Joe West back in the lineup for Calgary, and West with a catch and a first down inside the 30-yard line. 5th game of the year for West, his first catch since July.
I want to show you the influence of Cornish already. I mean, first of all, by reputation alone and what he's done, and on his resume, you see Zach Anderson there take off right to Cornish.
And actually, the spot of the ball was a yard short of the first down, and John Cornish trying to get outside, doesn't get to the first down stick, and it's going to be 3rd and a yard as the Stamps went hurry up there on the short yardage play.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at that for our viewers. And here's that 2nd down play. Tried to go hurry up and surprise, and there's Alex Hall stepping right into the hole to the outside. Gets a little help from Alex Suber.
Alex Suber finishes off, and so now the short yardage team comes on, and they'll plow ahead. Good surge to get the first down. Drew Tate in on the short yardage.
Getting some reps there, yep.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting sidebars today, whether or not we will see Drew Tate in any other capacity other than short yardage.
1-1 this year as a starter for Calgary, and 6-2 on his career for Drew Tate. But it's Kevin Glenn's team right now.
9 starts for Kevin Glenn, 6-2 record coming into this game. Of course, Bo Levi Mitchell, the winning quarterback against the Bombers in their first meeting. Pass into the end zone and incomplete as he looked again for Joe West, and the safety Javon Johnson closest to the football.
You think back to Joe West's first game in the Canadian Football League was against Saskatchewan, and he went deep on his very first play, scored a touchdown on a long ball, and you thought a guy with that size at about 6'1", 6'2", that could get down the field that well. He ran a corner route there and had some good speed. Shows that he's back.
2nd and 10. Glenn hurried, and the pass is short of the target. Joe West, and the drive stalls for the Stampeders.
Like Zach Anderson got a good push and kind of forced the issue on Kevin Glenn a little bit. He wasn't able to step up into that throw. Nice spin move from 44 in the interior here. He's going to step up, take on John Gott, spin to the inside, and then back out and right in the face of Kevin Glenn.
So Rene Paredes is in. 38 of 40 on the year from 35 yards out. Paredes puts the Stampeders on the board. An opening drive field goal for the Stampeders. Max Hall and the Blue Bombers will take over on offense when we come back. He scores 3 on their opening possession. Now Winnipeg goes to work. Max Hall making his 6th appearance as a Bomber quarterback, his 5th start, looking for his first win. First half last week, 169 yards, a couple of touchdowns, but the turnovers killed the Bombers. Will Ford, the first carry, 4-4.
Really has been their issue as Max Hall, as you mentioned, gets his 5th start of the season, 0-4 on the season so far. Does get Corey Watson back, and it's been a disappointing season for Corey Watson, but he could finish strong
Winnipeg,
here.
Number 89, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And the one positive offensively, or one of the positives offensively for Winnipeg, has been Clarence Denmark. Last couple of games, he's had 12 catches, couple of touchdowns, almost 200 yards, so it's become a target for Max Hall.
But an offside against Denmark there that sets them back at the 30, 1st and 15. And it's into the hands of Denmark, trying to get outside. And Darius Brooks is there to force him out of bounds.
Well, played 13 games in the regular season, and I have to guess that Charleston Hughes has been a player to watch in all 13 because of the way he plays the game. Now his His partner on the other side of that defensive line is trying to catch him. Cordero Law is playing well. He's got 10 sacks on the season. Darius Brooks going to move in for Keon Raymond at linebacker.
So Alex Hall, 15 sacks. Charleston Hughes with 13 as the day starts. 2nd and 7. Here comes pressure. Hughes with a big hit. Ball is loose, and they're ruling it incomplete pass, but we talk about 39, and he gets a clean shot on Max Hall in the opening series.
Well, you can absolutely be entertained by just watching him play the game. That big smile on the sideline, you know he absolutely loves to it. He comes from off the line of scrimmage here, so basically not counted by Glenn January, the left tackle. He is free. You cannot leave the best, arguably the best pass rusher, or at least one of them in the Canadian Football League, free to the quarterback.
So Mike Renaud to punt it away into the breeze, and this one will bounce around on the sidelines, and Larry Taylor unable to field it. 36-yard punt by Renaud. Kevin Glenn leads the Calgary offense back onto the field when we come back to McMahon.
Take a look at Kevin Glenn in the all-time passing list. He closes in on Tom Clemens. Get into that top 10. Couple games. He's got 37 career 300-yard games. He'd need a couple to get there.
Actually, the season high for Glenn, surprisingly, 268 yards. Hasn't put up the big numbers, but has been so efficient. There's Markway McDaniel, his favorite battery mate with the catches. Markway McDaniel, the top receiver with the Stamps this year.
You know, he's a top receiver, just under 700 yards so far. Should get to that 1,000-yard mark, but has been so steady with receivers in and out of the lineup. Maurice Price has been in and out due to injury. They're trying to develop Brad Sinopoli as a Canadian receiver. Jabari Arthur coming on, but through all of that, Markway McDaniel has been steady.
First down, Glenn sidelines, and there's Joe West. Brandon Stewart to wrestle him down at the Bomber 50-yard line. 6 for West. And I guess without Nick Lewis, otherwise, this is finally the Calgary Stampeder receiving core they were looking for, although Johnny Forzani also was a guy that has been hurt all season long. So starting to get healthy.
Yeah, I was going to say almost perfect timing when you talk about getting their receivers back in the lineup with Maurice Price back and healthy, Joe West.
Second and 4. And here's Cornish, big hole, John Cornish, and it's a foot race and he won't lose. Cornish, touchdown, 50-yard romp as he closes in on Corey Sheets in a hurry.
Middle linebacker Enoch Mwamba got in tight, close to the line of scrimmage in the middle of your screen, number 10. And great blocking up front as they just slid to their right. Took the first off-color jersey to the inside. John Cornish cut back against the flow, and no one was catching.
First rushing touchdown since August for Cornish. A 50-yard gallop and a 10-0 Calgary lead. Well, he's had a 53-yarder, his second longest run from scrimmage this year, as the Stamps open up a 10-0 lead.
Check out the down blocking here by this offensive line for the Calgary Stampeders, and they're going to have one guy and Alex Hall go up to the field to get contained, and that opens up a huge running alley. The big block by Stanley Bryant, who takes Bryant Turner way inside, and you can see Alex Hall cannot redirect in time to get to John Cornish. He's back into the secondary in a heartbeat and will not be caught.
Two-play drive, and John Cornish 66 yards in the opening 8 minutes. So
I mentioned about a pass rushing style of defensive line going to have to get their nose dirty here in this game tonight, and they're going to have to start filling gaps, crashing down, and taking some shots at John Cornish, or he could rack up a few yards tonight. A little souvenir for the crowd.
Alvin Bowen shaken up on the kick return by the Bombers. John Cornish on pace to break his Canadian rushing record as well this year. 1457 last season, and was 251 yards away from eclipsing that starting the day.
Well, last week in Hamilton, John Cornish, after a big run, wanted to hand the football and give it a souvenir to a cheerleader, and she said no thank you, and
he's
he dropped
back
it.
at friendlier turf.
He's back at McMahon. I guarantee you that fan enjoyed that souvenir.
So Alvin Bowen continues to get attention, so we'll step out and be right back to McMahon. So Max Hall, a rough start, that big hit by Charleston Hughes. Back to work starting at the 31 after the Johnny Sears return. Into the hands of Will Ford. He finds a crease, and Ford up across midfield, exploding down the sidelines. Will he be caught? And he is pulled down. A touchdown saving tackle by Darius Brooks. But they're off and running. It's a track meet early. 70 yards, Will Ford.
Will Ford's speed once he got into the secondary, incredible. He ran past the angle of Eric Fraser, the free safety. The blocking up front, outstanding. His Ford to that tailback spot right behind Max Hall. Watch him take this little ride in the side. Kick out block by Glenn January at the point of attack. Now the speed at the top of this. Watch Eric Fraser. He's got a shot at him, and he just blows right by that angle.
Previous long on the season, 22 yards. Hall into the end zone, looking for Denmark, and incomplete. Darius Brooks, who saved the touchdown, was in coverage there. And it will be 2nd and goal.
Well, that was incredible speed by Will Ford. We've seen him do this on returns. Eric Fraser had a great angle on him, and he didn't make a move, shake him or anything, just outran it with sheer speed.
Well, they called him the home run hitter, and you're right, the best example of that was in the Banjo Bowl, the 98-yard kick return touchdown, but that's his best run from scrimmage. Fade into the end zone, and that's incomplete as Hall unable to hook up with Aaron Kelly. And the field goal team will have to come on for Winnipeg.
Yeah, Chris Randall just jammed up Aaron Kelly at the line, didn't let him get a free release there, and that saving tackle by Darius Brooks pays off. The defense holds for the Calgary Stampeders. That's why you never give up on a play.
There's the former Stampeder, Sandro DeAngelis, in to try this short field goal. And DeAngelis puts it through, so they get 3 off that 70-yard run by Will Ford.
Darius Brooks, you can use that as an example. John Huffnagel will be able to use that as an example as they move forward throughout the rest of this regular season, heading towards the playoffs, saying, guys, that's what happens when you don't quit on a play. And Darius Brooks comes from the backside. He could have easily, at a long time before this point, say, you know what, that wasn't my side, it wasn't my man, I don't think I can get there. But he hustles down, catches Will Ford, and gives his defensive partners a chance. They stop him 2 downs later and settle for a field goal.
And we saw that early in the year here at McMahon when it was Fred Bennett chasing down Noel Devine when it looked like Devine was going to score, creating a fumble and really kick-started a big comeback in that game.
Well, it's the little things, you know, just never quit from the backside. You never know. Got a little turf burn in the process.
Good series for Brooks, who was also in on the defensive coverage of Clarence Denmark. DeAngelis kicking it to Larry Taylor. And Taylor hit across the 30-yard line. James Green, another special teams tackle. He has 14 on the year. Let's check in with Jermaine Franklin.
Chris, Alex Hall admitted to me that he feels the heat a little bit. He told me every time he looks at the sacks leaderboard, he sees Charleston Hughes creeping up on him, and he suggested maybe that's his problem. He should stop looking at the standings. Charleston Hughes knows exactly where he is. As a matter of fact, he challenged his offensive line to shut out Hall and the Winnipeg front seven, all while he goes to work to get back on even terms.
Alex Hall looking for his 25th career sack. Here's Glenn. Marquay McDaniel's got it. And McDaniel into Winnipeg territory with a big pickup. Marty Marquette the tackle, but McDaniel's got a 34-yard grab.
Good time for Kevin Glenn, and Marquay McDaniel is the crosser that is going to go across the face of the safety, Javon Johnson, who's held deep because of a straight go route from Joe West. So Joe West is pulling Javon Johnson, the safety, away from those crossers from Marquay McDaniel. That's the second time he's made that play over the middle.
At the 43-yard line, the handoff to Cornish, breaks a tackle or two and gets 2 or 3 extra yards before Zach Anderson pulls him down.
You know, players will always kind of tell you, as Jermaine mentioned, that, you know, they're not really reading the papers or they're not looking at stats, not a big deal, but you can believe when they're in the top of the league and they're have a chance to win a race like the sacks leaders race or the rushing title or the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. They know where they are and they know where the guy behind them is. And they're watching. When they're not playing, they're watching the other guy on TV.
All with a couple last week. 2nd and 5. Glenn on a roll. Hall was in pursuit, but Glenn gets the pass away and Joe West has the catch.
This is exactly what we talk about when we say that sometimes you're going to leave one man free, and it's the quarterback's responsibility to roll away from that pressure. And this is the leader in the league. He rolls away from Alex Hall just long enough to get the ball out of there, knowing he's not blocked on the backside.
Working against left tackle Stanley Bryant, 1st and 10. Big to Cornish, wide open. McDaniel again, slicing down inside the 10-yard line. Good first quarter for McDaniel in this Calgary offense as Winnipeg's defense off balance.
Well, it's the balance in that offense and the play action fake that Cornish is just influenced the defense. Hold it right there. You can see all the movement to John Cornish, and that's allowing Kevin Glenn to just step outside of that, and he drops it right in behind, in front of the secondary, but in behind the linebacking core because the linebackers reacting to number 9 immediately.
Marquay McDaniel already 3 catches, 76 yards, double tight end formation, 1st and goal, and here's Cornish. And John Cornish to the goal line, touchdown.
Very little resistance.
Cornish had a 4-touchdown game against Saskatchewan. He's got 2 in the opening quarter against Winnipeg.
Marquay McDaniel and Pierre-Luc Labbé up in that middle linebacking core. They just get blown off the ball. Enoch Mwamba pushed back. Marquay McDaniel in that crossing motion to just try and take their eyes for a split second, the linebackers. And John Cornish, as I mentioned, tackled by DBs so far tonight.
It's waiting for the video review to confirm that Cornish was into the end zone, and now Al Bradbury signals that confirmation's been given. Extra point from Rene Paredes. And the Stampeders have a 17-3 lead on a pair of Cornish touchdowns here in the opening quarter.
One of the great stories for Calgary this season has been rookie out of Regina, Brett Jones. And this center, I will show you an example of how to run block from the center spot on a middle linebacker, Enoch Mwamba. Watch him get Enoch Mwamba on roller skates, and Mwamba's having a big year I mean, this is a struggling team, but he's playing well, and he gets on those roller skates, driven about 6 yards back, and Kevin Glenn saw the block the whole way, goes right up to Jones, said, yeah, man, that's how we run block, big boys.
Jones and Gott getting congratulations from the quarterback, and a 5-play, 77-yard drive. Took just over 3 minutes. Looks like a couple of these Stampeders on a mission today. Here's Will Ford. And Ford ran into Johnny Sears, and he'll get pulled down at the 20-yard line. Well, we talked about John Cornish going after Corey Sheets in the rushing race, one that he's awfully excited about.
That's when, you know, it's stuff of legends. You know, you have this guy that's been built up to be, you know, so amazing, so like this MOP candidate in the first 9 games of the season, and then it falls off, you get the injury and stuff, and now we're on equal footing. So it's, for me, this is as awesome an ending to a season, the next 5 games, to see how it all turns out as I think could be conceived.
Get the impression he's excited? Yeah. Here's Max Hall over the middle of the pass. Incomplete, looking for Aaron Kelly. And the defensive play by Chris Randall.
Right now, John Cornish 17 yards behind Corey Sheets, has 7 carries for 78 yards in this one already, and we're not finished the first quarter.
Sheets got off to the big lead. And even before the injury, John Cornish said 18 games, started slowly last year. 2nd and 10, Hall gets it away and has a completion and a first down up at the 37-yard line. And that's the newcomer, Wallace Miles. They say he's been on the practice roster the whole year, makes a lot of plays during the week, and gets some of the guys fired up. The understudy to Terrence Edwards has his first CFL catch.
North Carolina A&T, same body type as a Joe West for Calgary. 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds, right in there, but can move.
Final play of the quarter, and they swing it out. And that's Carl Bolney with the catch up to the 41-yard line. Pickup of about 5 for the backup running back. That's the end of the first quarter. What a big one for John Cornish. 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. 17-3 Stamps. There are the numbers after 15 minutes of football here at McMahon.
It's interesting, we're talking about these 2 races, the rushing race between Corey Sheets and John Cornish. Cornish has 78 yards rushing in that first quarter, on pace for 312, by the way, in this game. But the other race is tied in because Alex Hall in the sack title with Charleston Hughes is tied in. Those guys have got to get in their mind that they're going to get in here and stop John Cornish, or he's going to have a huge night.
You get the sense that Cornish saw Winnipeg and used this as a way of motivating himself for the game?
And I think, as he said in that clip, Chris, that he's got his eyes on Corey Sheets. I mean, obviously winning and locking up first place is the priority for the Calgary Stampeders, certainly would be for John Cornish, but he knows where Corey Sheets is. He heard everyone talk about his great start, and he's fired up. Make a dent tonight.
2nd and 5 and a completion to Corey Watson. Max Hall will appreciate the return of the Concordia product to the Bomber lineup. Last catch for Corey Watson was Labor Day, and an injury-plagued season for a valuable member of this Bomber offense.
Well, and it was that practice incident with Dan West, the backup safety, pushed him out of bounds in a practice and hurt his hamstring and missed 7 games with that problem. And boy, there was huge expectations for him coming into this season.
Only in the backfield, and Jawan Simpson is in the offensive huddle. Big play by the middle linebacker of the Stampeders, dropping Volney for a loss.
Well, it was almost like he got the playbook and understood that this play was being called and just shot the gap. Right in there, step right to the play. That looked like a play made by film study. Watch it enough, see the action of the offensive line and the lead running back, and go right to the ball carrier.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Will Ford back in as Hall hit as he delivers the football. That time it was Deron Mayo, the Will linebacker, the weak side linebacker blitzing. Gets a hit in on the Winnipeg quarterback.
Well, take a look at how Calgary will line up. So many guys on the line of scrimmage. They've got 7 up there now. They're going to drop Eric Fraser out, and then they'll send Deron Mayo from the top. So offensive line for Winnipeg, not sure which guy is coming, which guys are dropping. Max Hall takes a hit.
Renault kicking it away. And this one will bounce out of bounds inside the 25-yard line. No chance for a Larry Taylor return, a 38-yard punt. John Cornish, big first quarter. What's he got for the second quarter here at McMahon?
Wins on the season, guarantee you that. But again, a key tonight is going to be whether or not Alex Hall and them make it up, decide that they're going to try and stop the run of John Cornish.
And whistles sound before this play gets underway.
Really is about just flat out desire up front and about winning those battles. Right now, the offensive line.
Procedure. Calgary, number 62. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Edwin Harrison.
Right guard getting a procedure call, but right now that offensive line, Edwin Harrison, Brett Jones, and we've seen a couple big blocks by Stanley Bryant. They're not only winning the line of scrimmage for Cornish, but they're getting to the next level. We saw a little bit of that last night. They can get on Enoch Mwamba, they can get on Pierre-Luc Labbé. Boy, then John Cornish is in the secondary.
A lot of injuries on that offensive line, but they've kept on ticking. Here's Cornish with the reception, and Cornish will have another first down as he gets ridden out by Deja Dunn at the Calgary bench.
You know, Deja Dunn, when we first talked to Tim Burke about Deja Dunn, he couldn't talk enough about him, how positive it was, and that this is a guy he really believes can become an all-star in the CFL. But Deja Dunn's got to step up and make some plays. He's been in the lineup most of the season. He's got a chance to play, get a feel for the game. He's got the speed, he's got the instincts. He just hasn't made enough big plays for this defense.
Oh yeah, he coming.
20-yard pickup by Cornish. Rob Cote back in the offense. And here's Maurice Price. Pierre-Luc Labbé trying to track him. And Price will step out. And around the 44-yard line, gain of 6 for the speedy wideout of the Stampeders.
I'm going to show you what I mean about this. There's a good example right in that next play on second down. Deja Dunn is coming on the blitz, and again, you'll see an example of his quickness. I mean, I don't think anyone's giving up on Deja Dunn, but the example of his quickness, he's got a chance to make a play here, and he reacts for some reason to Maurice Price rather than run right through the quarterback and make that hit.
2nd and 4. And a quick throw to Brad Sinopoli as Johnny Sears back in that defense for the Bombers tries to rip it out, but that's a catch and a first down for Sinopoli.
Just a great story here in Calgary is Brad Sinopoli, quarterback in college, can step up, learn the receiver position, and contribute as much as he has. A couple big games, one in July against Montreal. He had 5 catches, almost 100 yards there. In Edmonton, he's one of those guys you cheer for. He had 5 catches in that game in September.
Here again, Cornish. And this time, not much as he tests the middle. And Enoch Mwamba has the tackle. Mwamba, number 2 in tackles in the league coming into this week.
Just a guy you want to cheer for, and this is a guy that be one of those guys that you go into a playoff game and everyone will talk about Marquay McDaniel, Maurice Price's big playability. There'll be a lot of talk about John Cornish, and it's guys like Brad Sinopoli that continue to improve game in and game out. They usually become those guys that make the big plays when no one expects them to in a playoff game.
2nd and 7. Glenn takes a shot, wants Jabari Arthur, and he can't reel it in. Desjardins working against Jabari Arthur, the Canadian Player of the Week last week in the CFL.
Boy, he's taken a real step in his progression, and he's showing you his speed. And Hamilton had a big game there. First 100-yard game for the Calgary Stampeders, 103 yards against the Hamilton Tiger-Cats last week, had a couple of touchdowns. That one just outside of his reach, and through all of that, see the protection for Kevin Glenn? Pretty good.
Rob Maver. Javon Johnson going to let this one bounce into the end zone. And he'll concede the single point. It's an 18-3 Calgary lead. Talk about races. How about the sack race? Charleston Hughes, 2 back of Alex Hall. He'll be on defense when we come back. There's Glenn January, the veteran left tackle of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And you told me he was fired up for this game.
Well, I was riding down the elevator with him at the hotel this morning, and he said, you know, it's been a tough season, but I got to be honest, we're watching for who's ready to play tonight, who's going to come in and play with a lot of heart. Playoffs might be out of reach, but still play with pride.
Here's Hall, looks over the middle and on a tip. Corey Watson, a hurdle. Well, a deflection, a hurdle, and Corey Watson has a Winnipeg first down. 18-yard pickup up near midfield.
I think this is what Glenn January was talking about.
Yeah.
Efforts like this from Corey Watson. Forget about the record. Forget about the team you're playing and their record and how good they've been in a strong West Division. Just go play ball, play hard, play with pride, keep playing like your job and your life depends on it. And that's what Corey Watson did on that play. Good for him. Great effort.
First down up near midfield, and that pass a little behind the target. Clarence Denmark incomplete. Well, we saw Max Hall last week, 4.5. All those turnovers and the 3 defensive touchdowns by BC chased him from the game. I think he was very happy with the pull and was not around at the end of the game to deal with the media.
Well, and I think for Tim Burke, it was obviously a step back for Max Hall, but, you know, you go back to that September 20th game against Edmonton, he completed 66%, threw for 253, and looked like he was progressing a little bit, then faced the BCD.
2nd and 10, and that pass is broken up, and it's been a good first half for Darius Brooks.
Yeah, they've got a couple guys that can rotate through there. Jonathan Hefney is on the sideline in case they need him. He plays a little at the nickel. They can rotate him through, and Keon Raymond won't be long. He's going to step out, and they're going to match him up on the hottest receiver for Winnipeg, which has been Clarence Denmark. So he's usually a linebacker on the inside. They walk him out, match him up on Denmark.
Here's Renault. He angles the punt. That one will bounce inside the 20 and out of bounds again. Larry Taylor without a chance to return it. Kevin Glenn up against his old team with the lead. Well, the quarterbacking story has been an interesting one here, and it continues to develop with more. Jermaine Franklin.
Chris, it's probably safe to say that John Hufnagel is the MVP of the league with 3 quarterbacks that can start and win games. So Kevin Glenn was actually a little surprised when the subject came up that Drew Tate could possibly return or when he would return. When that happened, Kevin Glenn said that he was a little bit surprised simply because the topic never came up in the dressing room and it hasn't been discussed between Hufnagel and the quarterbacks. And Hufnagel did say Drew Tate is getting healthier. However, he hasn't played a lot of football lately, and for now, Kevin Glenn is his #1. However, a decision down the road may have to be made.
Guess the question is who gets a chance to be #2. It's interesting to note that all 3 have won this year. All 3 with a quarterback rating of over 100.
You know, and there's a groundswell of Calgary fans right now that have really put their vote for Bo Levi Mitchell to be the starter. But if John Hufnagel is consistent with this, like he's been all season, he has gone back to Drew Tate when they're all healthy as #1 Kevin Glenn 2 and Mitchell 3.
Here's Glenn over the middle, and another catch for Joe West. Trying to get outside, and he'll cut back.
Oh, man.
Took a vicious hit from Johnny Sears, and a flag flies.
Boy, did he ever. That flag came out right on the hit from Sears. I'm wondering if they're going to say helmet-to-helmet contact or a hit to the head.
And that's tough when
Major
the ball
foul,
carrier.
unnecessary roughness at the end of the play. Winnipeg, number 0, 15 yards, first down.
Call.
Because he turns right back into him.
Yeah, this is the one that is so controversial right now. I mean, we know that there is a standard set for quarterbacks, but when West comes in and he's ducking down too, trying to get away from the first hit, almost impossible for the defender to get out of the crosshairs. That just looked like a perfect form tackle.
Yeah, that looked textbook, didn't it?
It really did. Now, Joe West's head snaps back, but it looked to me like Johnny Sears led with his shoulder. He didn't really lead with the crown of his helmet. And keep in mind, Joe West is dipping here to take on the contact. I think he turned his head sideways. I mean, it looked like he led with his right shoulder. There was contact made with the helmets. There's no question about that, but there is that on almost every play. And it's a matter of whether or not he ducked his chin, led with the crown that they're looking for.
Using the helmet as a weapon.
That's right, yeah.
So a tough call, and now Kevin Glenn taking a shot. And Sinopoli unable to bring it in. And Glenn a little slow to get up.
A little pressure on him. It looked like Brian Turner got in the backfield. Alex Hall is always close by. He's down at the bottom here in that three-point stance and comes off the line. Good push up the middle and just a little traffic, and Glenn kind of gets tangled up in it.
You know, we have seen some hits this year not called and then fines levied during the week. There is one that a fine is likely not to be levied, and which will tell us that maybe that flag shouldn't have been tossed.
I agree. It looked like a good tackle to me.
Rob Maver looks for the corner, a line drive boot, and he's been great this year all season long. They're going to mark that just outside the 10-yard line. It's a 36-yarder that gets the job done for Rob Maver.
You know, and I could tell by looking at Glenn January as this offense comes back on the field that he was ready to try and lead by example. I want to go back to that big run by Will Ford and show you that, you know, January is ready to play. Understands he's a veteran, but look, he seals Juwan Simpson nice. He's a guy who opens it up and lets Will Ford go. He's not going to give up, play hard every play. Try and set an example for these guys to say, look, you're playing for your jobs, yes. Play with pride. Great effort. You can control that. Can't control the record to this point now. That's behind him.
Max Hall's 5 for 12, 59 yards. So far in this first half, Juwan Simpson showing blitz. He'll drop back, and Hall's going to go deep and unable to make a connection with the newcomer, Wallace Miles.
Atlanta native, Wallace Miles. I wonder if he'll join that workout committee that goes down there from the CFL. Seems like 3 or 4 players from every team work out in the offseason with Milt Stiegel, former Winnipeg Blue Bomber in Atlanta in the offseason.
So 2nd and 10 as the Bombers try and dig themselves out of a hole. Receivers out. Hall over the middle, and he's got a connection. Clarence Denmark a first down up at the 25. Safety Eric Fraser with the tackle.
His receivers for Winnipeg have got to get used to the fact tonight that they're going to have to make catches with people on their shoulders, and their coverage has been tight from this Calgary secondary. They're going to just drop it. Jonathan Hefney gets there quickly. Eric Fraser inside out. Nice catch by Denmark in the hole.
Denmark, the best of the Bombers last week. 6 catches, 118, and a pair of touchdowns in that game against the Lions. And now Will Ford tries to get outside and turns it up, and a decent return up across the 35-yard line.
Lead by example, like a guy we know very well. The last time the Winnipeg Blue Bombers beat Calgary, October 18th, 2002, and Milt Stiegel led by example that night. Kahari Jones to Stiegel there. He had 3 touchdowns against the Calgary Stampeders and a little showboat in that game.
Arlen Bruce wearing number 4 for the Bombers 10 years ago, the last, or 2002 the last time that the Bombers won here at McMahon. 9-yard pickup for Ford. It's the 2nd and 1, and he's got the first down and more. Eric Fraser will angle him out around the 50-yard line. It's been a good first half for Will Ford. 13 yards more on that carry.
Eric Fraser stayed a little higher this time. He made sure that he didn't get caught even with Will Ford. He's just going to bounce outside, and number 7 this time gets a better angle so that he knows now the speed of Will Ford. Eric Fraser had a nice interception last week against Hamilton. This time he keeps that angle and gets him out of bounds.
Ford with 92 yards, so already his best game of the season, replacing the injured Chad Simpson. Hitch pass, and Denmark was in trouble, but scrambles out of it and out of bounds at the Calgary bench.
Like Charleston Hughes was the guy who got him in trouble early on. He got back there. I mean, isn't it fun to watch this guy play? I mean, he's smiling ear to ear. He steps up right in front of Brandon Smith here. Watch him step up, take on his man. He gets there, pushes him deep. Now Clarence Denmark has to try and just fight to get back to the line of scrimmage. And that's all Charleston Hughes really wanted to do. He wanted to just buy time for his teammates.
Another film study defensive play.
Absolutely.
Did get back to the line of scrimmage, so 2nd and 10. Heckney was blitzing. Pass is complete. Aaron Kelly the grab at the Calgary 50. That's another Bomber first down.
Yeah, I think you bring Aaron Kelly back next year for sure. I mean, a guy who's played 5 games now and contributed in all 5. If you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers organization right now, that's a guy you tick off, I would believe, and say, yeah, this is a guy come back and compete for a starting job next year.
Asked Kyle Walters about Mike Sims-Walker, why we haven't seen more of him, and he mentioned adjusting to the waggle, and when you ask, well, could you not play with the wideout spot, he's, well, Aaron Kelly's there.
Yeah.
First down, Bombers marching. Hall, and that one incomplete, intended for Rory Collert, and Hall had DeMonte Bolden bearing down.
Lots of decisions to be made by this Bomber organization. Who will be their head coach moving forward if they decide to make a change? I'm sure they'll talk to Tim Burke again at the end of the season. Marcel Belfait, brought in as a consultant, has really become the offensive coordinator, and a lot of talk that he will be interviewed as well, and to see if he stays on the staff. If they do go in a different direction, will he be the guy, or does he stay on and Tim Burke stays on?
2nd and 10, 3.5 minutes to go here in the first half. Hall, that ball tipped and falls incomplete. Somebody got a hand on that at the line of scrimmage.
It was Cordero Law.
And the other bookend on that impressive Calgary front 4.
Last 6 games, 7 sacks for Cordero Law. Now, when you're practicing and in film study and in the meetings and everything with Charleston Hughes, you can learn the game. He looks like a spitting image of it.
You know, with a blast that's going to reach the end zone. And Taylor will watch it go out for a single point. So now a 14-point lead, a 66-yard single for Mike Renaud as we hit the 3-minute warning here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary.
It's a big one today. We gotta be ready.
You're a beast. You're an animal.
I'm gonna eat them for breakfast. I'm gonna eat them for lunch. I'm gonna eat them for dinner. Okay, let's do this. That's what I'm talking about. Whether it's a big breakfast, a hearty lunch, or your favorite dinner, Humpty's has an amazing selection of great food. Get your appetite on at Humpty's. I know I do.
I'm up all night collecting teeth. Then I got to spend half an hour in line at the bank to deposit a check.
You know, with check-in from ING Direct, you can deposit a check just by taking a picture of it.
Doesn't exist.
No, it's real. You just open the app on your smartphone, take a picture, and you're done. Easy.
Check-in. Believe it. Now get $100 when you open a Thrive checking account with payroll. ING Direct. Forward banking.
Goodyear knows there are times when you need to get out at a moment's notice. When a map can't tell you where you need to go. And you need to get there on-road or off. That's why everything we learn making tires for expert drivers inspires what we roll into the new Goodyear Wrangler with Kevlar. Goodyear, more driven.
Welcome back to McMahon. We've got 2:59 remaining first half. Then it's GMC Live at the half. We'll check in with the guys in studio, get their take on what they've seen in the opening 30 minutes here. The quick start by John Cornish.
Just a coin toss. Just a couple of carries for John Cornish in this second quarter. He's caught the ball out of the backfield a couple times, but just 2 running plays to him after that quick start.
To the air, back in the hands of Joe West. And Johnny Sears there on the corner.
And you know, Dave Dickinson obviously established him in the first quarter. He had 7 for 78, including that touchdown run of over 50 yards. So he goes back to play action now in the second quarter. And that quick passing game, get Kevin Glenn into a rhythm in the second. The Calgary Stampeders have a club record in completion percentage. Surprising he's the coach.
And here's Cornish. Up to the 49.
3 quarterbacks, Chris, at 69.7% as a team completion percentage for the Stamps, and that's really what Dave Dickinson was all about. I mean, he was all about that high completion percentage, pass efficiency rating, few turnovers, you know, and it's not surprising that all 3 quarterbacks have had success here in Calgary and had that high completion percentage because they're coached.
Good to Cornish again on second down into the secondary, and Johnny Sears will trip him up at the 35. Otherwise, he's in the end zone again. 25 more for John Cornish, over 100 here in the first half.
John Gott, Stanley Bryant, the left side of that offensive line. Let's take a look as Cornish, again, he gets that cut block as they down block to their right. And he's just flowing against the grain, looking for a crease, and he had a whole left side of the formation wide open.
So John Cornish on that carry takes over the league lead in rushing. A catch made by Sinopoli, brought down by Pierre-Luc Labbé. As Cornish went to the sidelines for one play, but he'll check back in.
114 yards rushing last week in Hamilton. He now has the lead in the rushing derby.
Well, he told you he was excited about it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Dave Dickinson wasn't as excited because he stopped going to him. But Cornish with a 25-yard run, and he now is the league leader. Glenn will take a shot for Maurice Price. Touchdown! Mo Price has his 7th touchdown of the year.
And then he nails the jump shot for 3 in the celebration. This is straight seam route and caught Javon Johnson a little flat-footed at free safety, so he can't come inside out to help on that throw inside to Marty Marquette. And Maurice Price in stride.
3rd consecutive game with a touchdown catch for Maurice Price. Becoming one of the most explosive receivers in the league. And the Stampeders have put 25 on the board in the opening half. That's a new celebration, the jump shot. He's got a little jive he does that actually influenced
the three-pointer celebration. But you know what? They've been running the same seam route throughout this game, and Javon Johnson has stayed high. This one here where they got Maurice Price down the seam and one across his face, and so far he's been staying on this. Well, this time he hesitates on that crosser, and it gets him in trouble on the seam. Again, Dave Dickinson realizing that Javon Johnson, the safety, has been playing the high one. This time he waits on Joe West on the one across his face, and he lets Maurice Price go straight down the seam. This is just Dickinson recognizing the play of the safety, that he's stayed high throughout the first 3 times they run the play. This time he jumps it and they hit the high one. And a nice little three-pointer.
What's up, baby? Go Stamps, baby. Shout out to all my people back in Orlando, back in Tampa, man. We got Joe back.
From the same hometown as Mike Sims Walker, they do the same touchdown dance normally, and it actually influenced one of the video games for the NFL that also does that dance, but for some reason he passed it up today. He's got the new three-pointer.
He just said it. This is our house. Their only loss here in McMahon this year to the Toronto Argonauts.
That was the last home game, and Calgary has not lost 2 in a row overall since 2011.
What's up, baby? What's up, Nicole? What's up? I love you, baby. What's up, Mom? What's up, y'all?
Not interested in losing 2 straight at home either, apparently.
Well, and a chance to get a little cushion on the race for first and that bye to the final. Now there's lots of football to be played. Calgary will play against Saskatchewan. They still have to play the BC Lions. Yes.
A couple games left with the Lions, including next Friday. Wilkerson D'Souza, one of John Huffnagel's special teams guys, is getting attention on the field.
But the good teams win the games they're supposed to win.
Yeah, there was a suggestion this had trap game written all over it, but I don't think John Huffnagel knows the definition of trap game, does he?
Yeah, and we're not handing this game to the Calgary Stampeders before halftime. However, it's a well-coached team that coming into this game, you talk about it. How could the Bombers look to try and find the way to generate the upset here? They get a good pass rush. They can contain John Cornish. They haven't been able to do that in this first half, and Kevin Glenn's had lots of time. I mean, that's been the one strength that Tim Burke could rely on throughout the year, is that he did get good pressure on the quarterback throughout this season.
Yeah, that front four is usually the most noticeable element of the Bombers, and they have not been in this first half. And there's D'Souza needing assistance to the sidelines.
It's an important few games here for Max Hall, too, at quarterback, when you think about this team moving forward and the moves they've got to make in the offseason. And he wants to get an invite back to training camp, a chance to compete. You know the Bombers will be aggressive in the free agent market. There's some big names that will be available through free agency. Zach Collaros is a free agent. Drew Willie in Saskatchewan will be a free agent. If they choose to go that route.
Ball throwing this one up, and Corey Watson unable to bring it down. 17 different quarterbacks have started games this year. 16 have posted wins. Max Hall looking for his first victory in the Canadian Football League.
He's just got to work on his accuracy on this throw. I mean, you can see it looks like he maybe didn't get the lace when he released it, and a wobble on it in behind Corey Watson that was open.
2nd and 10. Aaron Kelly comes in the block, and the pass is dropped by Watson. One he should have had. Incomplete at midfield.
Corey Watson across the middle there. You know, this time they take turns, and that's really been the story of the season for Winnipeg. You know, the guys that take turns on first down. The throw a little bit off target from Max Hall on second down. The throw perfect, and to the same guy, and this time he drops it. And that's,
you could see that head pop up, taking a look at where he was running before he secured the football.
Now Corey Watson's got to get back into that game speed again. He hasn't played much.
And over and bunt that bounces down. Taylor gets a chance to return one and gets driven out and around the 35-yard line. James Green down there in a hurry, and he starts pushing with an old teammate, Jonathan Hefney. What great first half numbers for Kevin Glenn. Looks like he's en route to what might be his best game of the year. Again, a season high 268 back in July against Montreal. The best performance by a quarterback this year for Calgary was Bo Levi Mitchell against Winnipeg in his debut. Those terrific numbers, 29 of 33 for 376.
Completion percentage over 75.
Sinopoli on that hitch. Of a fake hitch one way, went back the other way, and Sinopoli to the 45, and see where they spot it. Will be a first down.
80% right now. I mean, that's off the charts. I've said this before, but there have been times when you can go to a practice at, you know, any team really, and you'll watch even good teams and good quarterbacks against air not complete 80%.
Well, that one tipped as Labbé got a hand on it. We'll get into it in the second half, but it might be an interesting discussion in Winnipeg about whether or not Kevin Glenn potentially is the answer to their quarterbacking problems in the future. Do they go back to the future for Kevin Glenn?
Well, if Calgary can't protect him or won't protect him in the expansion draft, would they trade him, consider trading him, is the question.
Matt Walter taking a turn, and he crashes across midfield. It'll be just short of a first down. Kevin Glenn, 16-7 as a starting quarterback here in Calgary. And overall, 77, 70-1. And he wanted to stay on the field there. And on 3rd down and 2, John Hufnagel, with a half minute to go, is going to kick it away.
We're still a little early, and I'm sure John Hufnagel won't talk about it, but you think about that expansion draft and who the Calgary Stampeders at quarterback will protect. There's a lot of people that believe it'll be Bo Levi Mitchell, not Drew Tate, which is interesting. Kevin Glenn's name doesn't really come up because of his age when you consider who you might protect as your Stampeders.
Neighbors boot, Javon Johnson's got it. And Johnson will step out about the 21-yard line. 2 seconds remaining in a first half dominated by Kevin Glenn and John Cornish.
Interesting just to see if John Hufnagel looks to maybe trade Kevin. But we can talk more about that in the second half. And I'm sure Max Hall now, with 2 seconds left, just eat this one. But Tim Burke took some heat for doing this earlier in the season. Not with 2 seconds left, though. About 30, I believe.
Well, they're up against the best Hail Mary team in the league. Calgary's made it work a few times over the last few years. Instead, it's a Will Ford run and a good one. Up to the 39 as he pads his stats. 18 more for Will Ford. And that puts him over 100 in the opening half. 25-4. Stampeders lead it as we send it back to Dave Randall. Well, with a 70-yard run in that first half, there were only two and outs for Winnipeg. There was a few first downs, as Will Ford alluded to, on each possession.
Well, the positive offensively for them was that they did get a little bit of a running game going at times, and Will Ford showed you some speed and ability that if you give him a crease, he can get into that second level. They had a couple of times where they had open receivers and Max Hall missed them, and then they had a couple of drops. So again, if each player eliminates one mistake, you get another 5-6 positive plays in the second half, and take it one drive at a time if you're the Bombers.
Saw Jason Boltus last week in the second half. We'll See how Tim Burke utilizes his quarterbacks here. Ford on the return and up to the 34-yard line. Mentioned his 100-yard game, the second for the Bombers this year. Chad Simpson had 116 against Hamilton in week 3.
8 of 20 passing, 87 yards for Max Hall in the first half. That's a pretty good average for Will Ford. Clarence Denmark, it's actually a quiet half for Denmark when you consider his last 2 games, 200 yards basically, 192 to be exact, and 2 touchdowns.
Punch formation wide side, and hand it off. Ford slashing to that short side of the field, and he has a first down run. Brandon Smith, the DB, with the tackle, but 15 more for Ford, up to 125 on 5 carries.
Well, Juwan Simpson's been a problem when they do stop the run, the Calgary defense, but Glenn January is going to pick him up a tackle spot and watch him step into Juwan Simpson and just try and seal that inside. He's going to get up to the next level. Juwan Simpson tries to scrape. He gets right over there and chops him down to give Will Ford a crease.
Up to Ford, now the reverse as Denmark's coming around. And there's Denmark, runs into traffic over there. Fred Bennett wasn't going to let him turn it up.
You know, I'm not surprised to see this from Winnipeg. I mean, a team that struggled, why not just try some trick plays, see if you can maybe catch Calgary napping a little bit. But the execution of it was just a little bit sloppy. I mean, if it's clean and the handoffs and the exchanges are a little cleaner, one kind of bounces off Will Ford a little bit, he hesitates there, it's a little high for Denmark, and by that time Calgary rallies to it.
So it's a loss of 3, 2nd and 13. All over the middle, and a good grab there. Corey Watson hangs on. We saw that drop late in the first half, but in traffic, Watson a first down into Calgary territory.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Corey Watson had a drop in the first half, but he's trying to get back to game speed. This time he's just going to settle down a little bit. He understands he doesn't want to get too far inside or he runs into the safety, Eric Fraser, so just sits down there and makes a tough catch look relatively easy. I think he's got a real bright future. I know he's in his 4th season, but I truly believe Corey Watson is going to take a big step. He can stay healthy, stay on the field, finish this season strong, and then hit 2014 running.
Well, it is a yard short and a 3rd down upcoming for Tim Burke.
Hey, you go ahead.
Absolutely.
Pull out the stops here.
Although it's easier for us to say, you can tell Tim Burke's not exactly comfortable with 3rd and 1.
Short one, too.
And push ahead with Boltus, and Will Ford is convinced they've got enough. Pretty good surge behind Justin Sorensen. And Steve Morley, the former Stampeder, back in the offensive lineup for Winnipeg.
Positive plays, first to Corey Watson. First down to keep the sticks moving. Are they going to measure this, bring in the sticks just to make sure? Yes, they are. To me, like Jason Boltus had enough for the first down as he fell forward.
There it is.
Closer than I thought.
Bombers had 14 2-and-outs last week in the loss against BC. Just a pair in the opening half against his Calgary defense. First down, Stampeder 52-yard line. And Hall looking down that sideline just out of the reach of Wallace Miles.
It's a case, I think, where Max Hall could put a little air under this ball and let Wallace Miles go ahead and try and make a play for him. I mean, he threw it out hoping he would run underneath it, but he put it really on a line on the short side of the field, and And he's got a little pressure coming off the edge from Cordero Law, so he's got to get rid of it. But a little bit more air under there, and you see if Wallace Miles can make a play for him.
Second and 10. Pressure coming. Ball gets it away, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Darius Brooks as his outstanding defensive performance continues here at McMahon today. Saved a touchdown in the first half, made a defensive play in the end zone, and now has his first interception.
Max Hall's 8th interception, but he's going to get hit by Juwan Simpson. It's big on big with Jarvis Jones, the tackle, taking Charleston Hughes. So that means Will Ford's got to step up on linebacker Juwan Simpson right here. And watch how Simpson will just drive the running back into the arm of Max Hall. Hits it in the throwing motion, and Darius Brooks says, thank you very much.
Stamps had 5 interceptions last week. Brooks had 1 of them. That's his 3rd of the year, the first for the Stampeders on the day. And here's John Cornish, second level again, and Cornish tossed down by Enoch Mwamba after a 12-yard run.
Same protections really, or blocking schemes for the Calgary Stampeders on all these plays for John Cornish when he does get into the second level. He's taken the backside of the blocking scheme each time. So if the offensive line moves right, he's breaking left. If they move left, he's breaking right.
Career best 185 last year against Edmonton at a 180-yard game. Trying to get outside here, breaks a tackle, and he'll step out at the Winnipeg 45, so 6 more.
Over 100 yards for John Cornish in the first half, 78 in the first quarter. Just following him behind Brett Jones. Stanley Bryan over a 50-yard touchdown run. Hasn't had a rushing TD for 5 games, so he bumps that slump. Souvenir for the crowd in a big first half, and it continues on here.
Cornish at 131 on the ground, and they put it back in his hands, and he breaks through again. John Cornish finally dragged down, and flags fly on the horse collar tackle by Koshi Mwamba down around the 22-yard line. So 23 more for Cornish.
And again, it's that same down blocking from the O-line. They're going to go one direction, and Cornish looked like this time he was going to try and go in that direction. Then again, he cut back and just find his hole.
Horse collar tackle. Winnipeg, number 3. Half distance to the goal at the end of the play. First down.
And this is what it is. It's just this type of blocking schemes, and Cornish then has the ability to just find his hole and cut back against the grain, and he can just take his time, slide step, find that little crease, and away he goes through the arms of Kenny Maynard.
6 100-yard game for Cornish this year, 2nd in a row. Kevin Glenn steps up, pressure on, and he slips away. Zach Anderson finally brings him down as Glenn gets to about the 7-yard line and a gain of 4.
Cornish back in. Marquay McDaniel back in. They make their substitutions. They had Larry Taylor in the game offensively for that play. Looked like they were trying to set something up, a quick screen to him, and the Bombers covered that, so Glenn took off and ran.
So it's 2nd and 6. They can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. And Glenn, short drop, the pass incomplete, intended for Jabari Arthur, and Javon Johnson there defensively.
Play that more like a corner than a safety. Javon Johnson got into a bind in the first half with a couple of just different patterns that are very difficult for a safety to handle. That's when he gave up the touchdown to Maurice Price. But he moved out and just played straight man on that goal line play and had the knockdown back to his corner type technique.
Rene Paredes looking for his 2nd of the game and 40th field goal of the season. Randy Chevrier is the snapper. Bo Levi Mitchell puts it down. And Paredes sends it through. 28-4. Riding the good running of John Cornish. Here's Will Ford. He's been off and running all day too. Winnipeg football when we come back.
It'll be a pretty nice night here in the foothills.
Sun coming out. Gorgeous fall early evening here. The Bombers will accept the kickoff here. And it's Teague Sherman, the Manitoba Bison product, up across the 40-yard line on that return.
Seen some pretty good running of the football in this game this evening. We see John Cornish, who's closing in on a personal best for him, and Will Ford is following the lead. It's been their bright light for the Winnipeg offense.
Cornish has assumed the CFL rushing lead. Max Hall with another connection to Corey Watson. Tackle on the play made by Jamar Wall, who had a couple of interceptions last week. 6 tackles in a matchup against Andy Fantuz. Pickup of 6 for Watson. Max Hall is the 9th quarterback in the last 12 meetings between these two teams for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Here is Hall over the middle, and he's got Denmark into Calgary territory. It's a first down at the Stampeder 53.
A nice crossing route here for Denmark. Clarence Denmark's going to run this dig, it's called, when you go down the field about 15 yards, and then you're going to cut right across the middle in front of the safety. In this case, the Calgary Stampeders had rolled in Jonathan Hefney as a nickel, and they saw Juwan Simpson up in the line of scrimmage, so they know that there's going to be a void in behind that.
First down, Will Ford kicks it outside, got by Cordero Lobb. And another first down run for Ford.
Nice move right at the point of attack. Get a little one-on-one here. You're the tackler, now you have to handle this.
First 4 starts for Ford, 43, 61, 50, and 28 yards.
How many more wins, Chris, sorry for interrupting, how many more wins would you give this team, this Bomber team, with Chad Simpson and Chris Matthews healthy all season long?
All starts with the quarterback, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
No question. This is...
But I'm just, the way that Will Ford is running in this game, and he's their backup tailback, and Chad Simpson missed a bunch now, but you know,
you have Corey Watson with that group.
With that group, Corey Watson, and then you have a young quarterback experience-wise in Max Hall, who's got a real good running game with Simpson and Ford, gets some balance there, has a big play guy like Chris Matthews on the outside, Corey Watson all season. A couple wins more, maybe 2-3 wins more.
Flag count looked like the Bombers might have been offside, and the pass intended for Miles is incomplete.
Now, part of that process, though, would mean that Tim Burke would have to have made a decision early in the year on where we wanted to go quarterback-wise.
Or in the offseason.
Or in the offseason, as many have talked about. That
you consider that
Buck Pierce started, and yeah.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 81. That penalty is declined, becomes 3rd down.
Offensive coordinators have changed, quarterbacks changed. You talk about injuries too. It's
and I mean, it's easy to say. Tim Burke had made the decision, or the coaching staff did, that they were going to go in a different direction than Buck Pierce, who is now a BC Lion. Okay, but if that's different, and Buck Pierce is the quarterback, and Matt, you know, I mean, the ifs and ands and buts and all of that, and other teams will say we've had injuries too. However,
here's Sandro looking for his first 40-yard plus field goal this year. Not going to get it. Miss-hit that. Larry Taylor is coming out. Gets to the edge, but flags fly as he gets taken out by Chris Greaves at the 16-yard line. Sandro DeAngelis has had some technique problems in recent weeks and didn't hit that one well at all.
That tackle on the sideline on Larry Taylor was a mismatch size-wise in a big way. 180.
During the return, holding Calgary. Foul took place at 6-yard line, half the distance to the 3, first down.
6'5", 303.
So the Stamps are backed up. Joe West getting set to return. We'll have more from Jermaine on Joe West when we come back. Quarterback's happy to have this man back in the offensive huddle with more on Joe West. Here again, Jermaine Franklin.
Yes, Chris, you know, we saw Mo Price celebrate with a fadeaway jumper after his touchdown earlier in the game, and Kevin Glenn says it's that exact same skill set what makes Joe West so valuable as a receiver. When he tosses the ball up, Joe West goes for it, and he has that special ability to contort his body as if he was going for a rebound in basketball. And Glenn said it reminds him of a player he used to play with, ironically, with the Blue Bombers, Terrence Edwards. That's pretty high praise for Joe West.
Yes, indeed. And here is West on cue, taking the hitch, and look at that change of direction. Up to the 11-yard line.
Great moves in the open field. You know, what it does for Calgary as they move forward here in the regular season and as they go into the playoffs, it creates problems in the matchup when you try and find, if you're going to roll the coverage to Maurice Price to try and take away the big play, and you've got Joe West on the backside with the ability to get down the field too, now you can get in trouble. So defenses that are going to try and match up personnel, let's say Calgary's playing Toronto down the road, and they're going to play Kerry Watkins. Who do they play Pat Watkins on? Where do they put Pat Watkins? On Maurice Price or Joe West?
Here's Cornish, gets to the edge, and more big yards for Cornish up near the 35-yard line before Mwamba escorts him out, but that's 24 more for John Cornish on a personal record pace today.
Boy, is he ever on pace to get to 200 today? He can get to 225. He can get in the top 10 of the best ever performances.
5 runs of 10 plus in the game for Cornish, who leads the league in that department with 46. Now at 178, so 7 away from a PB, or at least matching what he did against the Edmonton Eskimos last year. He had 185 and 180 in 2 September starts at home against Edmonton.
Offside, Winnipeg, number 10. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
You take a look at this lineup, and it's going to be a tough team to play in the playoffs, Calgary Stampeders. They stay healthy the rest of the way. The addition of Joe West, the way John Cornish is finishing the season, the fact that they've got options, positive options at quarterback. Jabari Arthur coming on, another big target for them in the receiving corps. And an O-line that's given up the fewest sacks in the Canadian Football League to this point. And have not given up one against the sack leaders in the CFL, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, in this game tonight. So, I mean, what are you defending if you're coming in to play Calgary in the playoffs?
1st and 5. Short drop, up and go, and Joe West wide open. And West will be pushed out by Johnny Sears at the 36. That was almost too easy. 35 for Joe West.
Well, there you go, Jermaine Frank. Cue the Joe West show. Start this drive on their own goal line with a little bit of a hitch. Nice double move there. It just has Javon Johnson picking up equipment as he tries to chase him. There's my jock, there's my shoes, there's my... That's a nice move.
7 catches, 94 for West. Kevin Glenn in pursuit of his first 300-yard passing game of the year. And And that one for Price incomplete. And Javon Johnson was in coverage once again.
So you're facing the Calgary Stampeders, and you want to try and take away what they do best. Take away what they do best. Well, they run the ball well, as good or, well, better than any team in the Canadian Football League. They're not allowing a lot of sacks, so their quarterback has time. He's staying on the field. They win the time of possession. And now have targets like Joe West returning to the lineup to add to Maurice Price. Jabari Arthur.
2nd and 10. Here comes the pressure. Glenn gets it away. And this will be a walk-in touchdown. Marquay McDaniel, 36 yards.
He must have had a speaker in his helmet and just said, hey, you forgot to mention me when you talked about the Calgary weapons. Wide open and a big block by John Cornish to take care of the blitz coming from Enoch Mwamba. Number 9 to the left of Kevin Glenn will pick up the edge blitz. And now Kevin Glenn just has to throw it up over the outstretched arms of Zach Anderson and a wide open Marquay McDaniel.
6 plays, 107-yard touchdown drive. Marquay McDaniel with his 6th touchdown catch of the year.
And the beatdown is officially on.
And Kevin Glenn is over 300 on the day.
13th time in 14 games for Calgary passing over 300 yards.
They fatten the stats here. Kevin Glenn, Marquay McDaniel. And it's 35-4, a stampede in Calgary.
Let's show you why Marquay McDaniel was so wide open on this play, as he is going to work off of Jabari Arthur and 2 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Stop it here, guys. They drop McDaniel. They both jump Jabari Arthur, and Marquay McDaniel uncovered through the middle of the Bomber defense. No safety help. He was on the blitz. Koshi Mwamba. Touchdown.
McDaniel, 3 touchdown catches in the last 4 weeks. Over 100 for the 2nd time this year. Good return. Will Ford still going. And now it's a foot race. Ford inside the 20. And for the 2nd time this year, it's a kickoff return touchdown for Will Ford. Well, there's one guy trying to confirm his spot on the roster for 2014.
And one guy playing like Glenn January's playing, and like Corey Watson's playing, and you know, there are a few that are working hard, not looking at the scoreboard, not looking at the record. They're just saying, look, I'm going to do my thing. I'm trying to earn a job. I'm playing with pride. Will Ford's certainly doing that. He can sign his painting tonight at the end of it and be proud of it, no matter how far down in the scoreboard they get.
100-yard kick return touchdown for Ford. Had a 98-yarder in the Banjo Bowl. And DeAngelis puts the extra point through. So in short order, McDaniel with a touchdown for Calgary. And then the response from Will Ford. So 141 rushing and 100 on the kick return. So been a big day for him, although the scoreboard isn't very flattering.
Let's get a good idea of just his quickness and how that breakaway speed, he uses it, but doesn't lose any momentum on the cuts. And the great speed running backs can do that their forward momentum is never compromised when they have to make a move on somebody.
He's still slow. He get all the praise and the glory. Bang, bang. Where go? Hold on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they did say he's the home run hitter. And we've seen that explosive performance from him on a couple of plays today. A kick return, a 70-yard run from scrimmage.
This guy's had a few big runs this year, too. See if he's got an answer. Larry Taylor.
Just switching sides now with Matt Walter. Wind kicking up here a little bit, so DeAngelis is going to get a hold. And here is Taylor. And he gets chased down from behind. A good play by Brandon Stewart on the special teams to negate a good return by Taylor.
Kevin Glenn over 300 yards passing on the night with a quarter to go. Couple of touchdowns, and combine that with over 100 yards rushing from John Cornish. You have balance and an offense that has faced very little resistance so far from the Winnipeg defense.
Glenn with 7 different pass plays of 20 yards plus. And again, Cornish, and this time stopped right at the line. Enoch Mwamba is in that Glenn January list, isn't he?
Well, he is. You know, and there's a guy that ranks second in the CFL in tackles behind Chip Cox coming in. You mentioned that off the top, Chris, and you know, he has been blocked well a couple of times, but not from lack of effort from Enoch Mwamba. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago in Winnipeg, that he will become a free agent unless the Bombers can somehow sign him to a contract extension.
Second down, Anderson on the rush, but McDaniel the catch. And up over the 30-yard line for Markway McDaniel. Let's see where the spot is. Looks like he's going to be a yard short of the first down. And took a pop too.
Sent Cornish out the other way to take Enoch Mwamba with him, and the hit came from Johnny Sears. He's had a couple. That big hit that he was penalized for, we didn't think deserved a penalty on Joe West.
Sears with foot issues that had him on the 9 game, and some of the Bomber camp feel that might have been a blessing in that he was coming off ACL problems anyway, so he's finally healthy again and anxious to reestablish himself as a mainstay in that Bomber defense.
John Huffnagel taking a good long look at how far they have to go here, and they'll kick it away.
Yeah, 24-point lead here in the final minute of the third quarter. That's probably the safe thing to do.
Don't get silly, yeah. Interesting coaching decisions last night in that game in BC. Corey Chamberlain electing to go for 2 after a touchdown in the second quarter of that game.
A late 45-yard field goal to extend what looked like a comfortable lead. Hit a wall as the wind has kicked up here. Maber's boot bounces out. Just a 28-yard kick, and Max Hall has good field position at around the 50-yard line.
Good field position, 25 seconds left with the wind. Take a shot. Clarence Denmark try and get him on a goal route, maybe in the short side of the field. Take a shot down the field here. Need time to do that.
Holney in the backfield with Ford. In to help block, and Max Hall's going to take that shot, and Darius Brooks was on the scene. He has been the highlight of that defensive secondary for Calgary today. Without Keon Raymond, Darius Brooks has really stepped up.
He knew that teams struggling like this and behind the scoreboard like this, what do they have to lose but to take a shot down the field? And you're right, he ran the route for Clarence Denmark.
Raymond out with a hamstring problem that isn't deemed too serious. They could see him back next week. Look out, Cordero Law gets home, and there's sack number 11 for Cordero Law, who may still have a shot at the league lead. Third in the league in sacks, and now with 11. Here's Law here on the final play of the third quarter. 35-11 Stampeders. Big plays in this game, including that 100-yard kick return, and both running backs starting tonight to have big totals.
Well, Calgary Stampeders look like a top team in the league. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have struggled on offense, but there have been a couple of guys that have really worked hard for Winnipeg. Will Ford, big game after three quarter, over 270 all-purpose yards. He's got it going on the ground. So you're looking for that kind of effort from these Winnipeg Blue Bomber players. Who wants to be around next year?
Over 500 yards, though, of offense for Calgary through three quarters is pretty impressive. Wind becoming a little bit of a factor. Another kick hangs up. Now Larry Taylor trying to get outside. And Brandon Stewart won't let him turn the corner once again after a 29-yard punt. John Cornish at 178. So closing in on a personal best, and he only needed 251 yards the rest of the season starting this game to eclipse last year's record-setting performance for a Canadian running back in the CFL.
Bombers have moved Koshi Moama back to safety and Javon Johnson back to the short side corner.
And here's Cornish, breaks a tackle, and away he goes. John Cornish inside the 45-yard line.
He's excited, and he knows the yards are starting to pile up.
31 puts him over 200, and that's a personal best for John Cornish.
Yes, sir, and he knows that Corey Sheets is watching too. And this is, again, blocking up front. He's in the second level all night before he even gets touched. I mean, he's coming through that line. Very little resistance, a little bit of a move from Brian Turner, and now he just shoots the gap. No Henoch Moama, he's blocked up. No Pierre-Luc Labbé, and he's up there with the safety, Koshi Moama.
Matt Walter comes in to spell Cornish, and Kevin Glenn looks for Maurice Price, and it's broken up. Good defensive play there by Johnny Sears. So Cornish at 208, and we were checking the list. John Millington at 225 was the 10th best rushing performance. So Cornish getting close to top 10 all time for one game in the CFL.
Not to mention extending his lead on Corey Sheets for the rushing title. And Sheets has led all season long until tonight.
He's got over a 100-yard lead now as Price gets the hitch, and he gets wrestled down by Javon Johnson.
You can imagine that John Cornish will be a double nominee for this team when it comes time for player awards. Outstanding player and outstanding Canadian, I'm sure, will be the nominees for John Cornish.
And with Sheets returning, likely Western showdown between those two for those honors. Well, this is night done. You sit him down with 12 minutes to go in a game that looks like you're in control of. Here's Paredes trying to extend the lead from 46 yards out. Boy, he's put money all year, hasn't he? Pretty impressive. He's hit from 52, and he is 11 for 11 outside of 40. John Cornish setting up another Paredes field goal with a 31-yard run. Paredes a 46-yard field goal. Checking the record books, John Cornish at 208 is 30 shy of the Stampeder record that is co-held. Willie Burton did it in '75 against the Calgary Stampeders. Lavelle Coleman back in 1964. both with 238 yards in a game.
Well, I just wonder if his night is done. I mean, he's got the warm-up coat on now, and it would actually be probably a pretty good move for John Hufnagel to rest him now, even though we'd like to see if he can get close to that Stampeder record or maybe even move into the top 10 in the CFL book. But let me see Matt Walter.
Hasn't been a night where he's taken a lot of physical abuse.
Quay, was that you and Mo, man?
No, but it just takes, you know, one twist of the knee or
exactly.
one twist of the ankle, and you could tell that Matt Walter's getting ready to come in, and Cornish has got the warm-up jacket on. Corey Sheets is going. Okay.
Little shovel inside. Will Ford once again. Up to the 40. 5 yards for Ford.
Sheets is going. Corey Sheets is going. Okay, keep that warm-up jacket on. I want to stay within striking range for the rushing title. Corey Sheets talked about that coming out of the season, that was a goal for him to win the rushing derby. So he gets nicked, gets hurt. Looked good in Vancouver last night and is back. However, John Cornish over 200 tonight.
The boot, and Taylor will field it on a hop. And the cover team's done a good job for the Bombers. And we may see Drew Tate come in at quarterback. 4 minutes into the fourth quarter, number 4 looks ready to go. Drew Tate started the year as the #1 man with the Calgary Stampeders, 1-1 through the first 2 games, has not thrown a pass since July 5th.
Been on the field in short yardage, but hasn't thrown a pass as he tests out. See how far that elbow has come.
Matt Walter in behind Tate as the running back. Looks like John Cornish's night might be done. And here's the Calgary Dino product. Matt Walter taking the handoff, and straight ahead, Desjardins, the tackle up at the 43.
I mentioned the completion percentage best in club history at 69.7. Kevin Glenn was at 74%, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. His night's done.
First 300-yard game for Calgary, as explosive as team as they have been, en route to their 11th victory, just their 3rd 300-yard passing game of the season. Walter again. And he is stopped up short. Alex Suber steps up, and we don't get a good gauge on Drew Tate's throwing arm on that series.
It's been an interesting discussion this week, and actually Coach Hufnagel was just a little bit prickly when it came to answering the questions about his quarterbacks. His hierarchy has always been Drew Tate first, Kevin Glenn at the #2 spot, as we talked about in the first half, and then Bo Levi Mitchell. But some have wondered and asked if that's changed and if it will be changed permanently as they go forward here in the regular season. But I'm not sure that Drew Tate is completely 100% yet. When it's your throwing arm, you got to be careful with that.
Johnny Sears back to field this punt. And he'll get driven out after a short return. So John Cornish might be done, but we expect to see Will Ford in the Bomber offensive huddle on a big night in Calgary for him when we come back.
Get into the game with the TSN Game Tracker presented by GMC Sierra. Track plays and get stats. Follow our Twitter feeds. Watch in-game videos and exclusive coaches playbook features. Go to tsn.ca/Game Tracker for details. The TSN Game Tracker Canadian Football Edition presented by GMC Sierra.
As a tribute to new Gratifries from Burger King restaurants with 40% less fat, we decided to trim the fat from this commercial. So we trimmed 40% of the music, the props, and scenery.
40% of the talent fees. Costumes? Another 40% of the costumes. And another 40% of
the talent fees. But thankfully, we didn't cut back on taste.
Whoa! New Gratifries. 40% less fat than the competition.
100% delicious.
We're all professionals. We all know the score. This is legit business. 401ks, tax returns, and all.
We're gonna move quick, and we're gonna keep cool.
My job, my score, get your own.
You are alone, you pathetic psychopath!
Suppose a group hug's out of the question?
Grand Theft Auto 5, out now. Rated M for mature.
Mommy? Mommy?
Kellogg's Crave Double Chocolatey Cereal. Chocolatey inside and out.
Sweetie?
Kellogg's Crave. Taste unleashed.
Well, our congratulations to the latest inductees into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, some with Calgary Stampeder roots, and tip of the cap to the folks in Edmonton who staged such a great event this week.
Yeah, apparently well over 1,000 for the ceremonial dinner, and there's Miles Guerrero, who played here in Calgary. Dan Ferrone played briefly in Calgary, mostly a Toronto Argonaut. Don Roney are the Stampeders.
Brian Fryer, the University of Alberta star. There was pressure on the quarterback from DeMonte Bolden, and an incompletion.
I was a teammate of Dan Ferrone with the Simon Fraser Klansmen. He was a senior, I was a rookie. Earl Winfield was the guy I played against, and as good a receiver as Earl Winfield was, when it comes to that production, you see over 14,000 yards, he's tough too. A guy that would go and hit you. In fact, in the '89 year that we met the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Grey Cup, they played Earl Winfield at safety at times that year. That's how
Great return man as
well.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a real tough all-around football player.
Tall was shaken up a little bit on that last hit from DeMonte Bolden, a drop from Denmark. It's a 2 and out. And who's manning the command center with Jake Ireland celebrating this weekend?
Well, Jake, 555 games, and he now does about, I just had a conversation with Tom Higgins about it, he now does about 80% of the games in the command center where he's in charge there. Congratulations to all the inductees.
No, good boot. That drives Taylor back about 15 yards. And again, the cover team in a hurry downfield. James Green chalks up another. He's among the leaders. And we've noticed him a few times today. Get down in a hurry.
There's one of Glenn January's guys. On the cover teams too.
Same barber too. 49-yard punt by Renault, a good one.
I'm not sure when I look at some of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they have a barber. You might not need one, that guy.
Well, let's see if Drew Tate throws the football in the second series. Again, Matt Walter is the running back, and it will be Tate to throw, and that one threw it away.
Yep.
Well covered on the play was Jabari Arthur. Alex Huber was in his hip pocket.
A couple of times, in fact, I believe it was last week's game for Calgary, Drew Tate came in and scored on a short yardage touchdown run. And he tossed the ball about 60 yards up into the stands. And I think since then everybody's been saying, like, his arm's good to go. But I think it's the type of injury more so that you want to see how it reacts when he really starts working it. I'm talking, 30, 40 passes in a game. I'm not sure they've been able to test that yet.
Drops it off underneath. Sinopoli, super there. And Sinopoli will get drilled at the 37, so a 2 and out once again for Tate and the Stamps.
Oh, it sets up an interesting scenario down the road. If they are all healthy, has Drew Tate lost his starting job once they are all healthy completely to Kevin Glenn and the way he's played?
Maver with a good boot. Javon Johnson. And a return up to the 28-yard line. TSN, the home of NFL Sunday Night Football. Our Week 5 matchup sees Matt Schaub and the Houston Texans in San Francisco to take on Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. Live coverage gets underway 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on TSN.
Chicago Bears got to get back on track, 3-1. They have the Giants this week, I believe, so they have a chance there, I think.
Giants hungry for a win.
Yeah.
Max Hall out there to Clarence Denmark, trying to turn it upfield. Good effort by Denmark to get close to a first down. A year ago, it was a tough day at the office here for the Bombers, and the bags are out again. 44-3 was the score of the last visit to McMahon. The most loyal fan bases in the league, but not enough to cheer about this season.
And the Calgary fan behind them is happy to hand the tissues forward.
Second down carry
well,
by Will Ford.
There is work to do, but this is a unique offseason. And with Ottawa coming in, and we'll see what they do from the top down. Wade Miller is interim president and taking a look at this from the press box here. And yes, there's lots of work to do, but it's an interesting offseason with Ottawa and with the expansion draft and the movement of players and a chance for this team to go out and find a franchise quarterback, to go and try and sign one of the free agents will have to be their top priority. That doesn't mean that Max Hall is thrown in the scrap heap. He can come back and compete, I'm sure, but the bottom line being they got to find a young guy. They're Mike Riley of 2013. And then build in some blocks around him. Get Chris Matthews healthy and back and signed. Enoch Mwamba sitting on the bench there on defense, got to get signed. Their front seven pretty good. But a couple of Canadian offensive linemen, possibly through trade, through the draft. It's got to be big-time emphasis for this team now is to start drafting some Canadian O-linemen coming out of the CIS and start building that Canadian content up front.
Max Hall battling here for an invitation back to camp next year, you would think. Cordero Law shaken up on the last play, doesn't look serious, and that pass incomplete, intended for Wallace Miles. So 2nd and 10 for the Bombers.
Well, and you know, from the top down, what is this team going to do? And I'm talking about for football ops and coach. You know, and we've mentioned this before that Tim Burke, great resume as a coordinator, and let's say it like it is, a struggle as a head coach. Now, does he have the horses? No.
Hitter, Denmark to catch, but he'll be dropped short of the first down, and Darius Brooks makes another tackle.
But I will say this, you know, a first-class guy, a good football man, Tim Burke, you know, players always say that they want to hear from their head coach the truth. They want their head coach to be up front and tell them how it is, and he has certainly done that this year with both his players and the media. At times he's been criticized for it, you know, calling out a player when he makes a bad mistake. I think that's been refreshing. He's a first-class guy who won't be out of work long if in fact they don't go forward with him as the head coach in Winnipeg next year.
Down, a fake was on, but the flags are flying. And somebody moved pre-snap.
Procedure, Winnipeg, the right side of the line. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
So it was more than one, and I think Bomber fans would at least like to see the fact that they were going to try something like this. But, yep, pretty clear.
The right side of the line moved early.
It was unanimous. Dickinson versus Dickinson. And the offensive brother is going to have bragging rights tonight. Punt bouncing down and out to bounds at about the 38. We've seen Kevin Glenn. We're looking at Drew Tate, and we asked John Hufnagel about his quarterbacking issues.
Kevin Glenn right now has been our starting quarterback. Drew hasn't played a lot of football, and as the season progresses, I'm sure there'll be opportunities for Drew to get back on the field and get him the confidence that maybe I do have to make a decision.
So we'll be watching that closely. And I'm sure he's watching to see how Drew is, first of all, just throwing the ball.
Meanwhile, there's a pretty good chunk of the fan base that like the other guy, too. What a nice problem to have.
Well, I think it's beyond like, Chris. I think the fan base is in big time Bo Levi Mitchell's corner. I mean, I think that they're real excited about seeing more of number 19 out there. And I don't know how Dave Dickinson and John Hufnagel can take Kevin Glenn off the field. I mean, he's done everything that they needed him to do, put him in a position to lock up first place in the West. There's still work to be done. I'm not giving them first place just yet, but they're the front runners.
Here's Tate underneath, and away goes West. He'll gallop down into Bomber territory, get pushed out at the 38-yard line. .24-yard pickup on that crosser to Joe West.
No hesitation on the throw. That wasn't a long throw. That was just over the middle. But so far, the throwing motion looks the same as far as I can remember with Drew Tate. It's like he's seeing the game. Hit the right player on that crossing route.
West joins McDaniel as a 100-yard plus receiver for the Stamps today. And Matt Walters got some room on the right side and left his feet and gets taken down around the 31-yard line.
You know, and keep in mind, as the Stamps close in on 600 yards of net offense here in this game, that it wasn't that long ago, I mean, even at the end of last year, that this entire fan base was real excited about Drew Tate. Real excited about him.
Well, we've had countless controversies about one quarterback or another with a team, but this might be the first time you have three options that can all win at the highest level at the same time. I mean, there's been teams with three quarterbacks that have gone on to all have great careers.
Yeah.
Calgary's had a few of those, but all three at the same time, and it may not matter which one goes out. And Calgary called a timeout, and now we're being told that the officials are also giving the 3-minute warning. So we'll step out and be right back. Left, here's what comes up next week. Huge game here at McMahon. The Lions licking their wounds after last night's loss. Eskimos in Saskatchewan, and we mentioned this is the last East-West game of the year. All East or all West now from here on in. Thanksgiving weekend coming up. Direct snap, Matt Walter. And a cutback to the 28-yard line,
which is really the way you want it. I know there's often, you know, discussions about the schedule and back-to-back games, and there's criticisms at times, but you want it divisional games down the stretch, and that fight for home playoff field position in the playoffs, and certainly that bye in first place.
Got a measurement here as Walter close to the first down. We'll find out if he got it. It'll be a 4-point lead for Calgary in the division, but then you see the game against Saskatchewan, 2 games against BC, and you know nothing's settled yet.
No, they're in the driver's seat, obviously, with the lead they have now and the fact that down the stretch, if Calgary goes 500, they should be able to lock it up in their last 4.
Walter right side and dropped Zach Anderson, the tackle at the 25.
Yeah, so if you take a look at the schedule, and you got Calgary with those 2 games against BC, Edmonton and Saskatchewan. If they go 500, Saskatchewan, BC is going to have to win out to take the division. BC would have to win both of those games.
But both the Calgary BC, Calgary Saskatchewan season series are still up for grabs. So tiebreakers are in no one's favor yet. Makes for an interesting final month. And a pretty good reason why we didn't see John Cornish not only go after a team record, but maybe even take a shot at the league single game record for rushing.
Or Kevin Brown. Stay in the game.
And Walter's chewing up those running yards now. Down to the 10-yard line for Matt Walter. Guy who helps make it easy for the Stampeders to deploy John Cornish as their starter, because they do have a solid Canadian who can back up in case Cornish gets hurt.
Calgary Stampeders are over 600 yards of offense tonight.
And it's the 8th time the Bombers have allowed 100 yards rushing or more, and the 8th time they've given up 300 yards passing or more. Rob Cote gets a carry, and the fullback gets stacked up.
You know, this is a good Calgary team, but I will say this. I expected a better effort from the Bombers, especially defensively. You know, you knew with their injuries and an inexperienced quarterback in Max Hall that offensively they've really struggled. But, you know, there's been very little resistance when it comes to the run game. Over 600 yards of offense. There's been a few. It's not been everybody.
4th ranked team against the run this year, but they got steamrolled tonight.
But they're way better up front than they showed tonight. Way better.
And in a game where we thought, you know, the sack guys were going to steal the limelight.
None
one
tonight.
Sack, Cordero Law, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
But from the top 2, all still with 15.
Yeah. And none
Charleston Hughes with 13. So they don't move, and Law trying to make it a 3-man race for the sack title.
Did not run from Winnipeg as a team.
Here again is Cote. And he will get dropped on the 3rd down carry as John Huffnagel elects not to kick a field goal. And it's a turnover on downs. Headset off, 31 seconds to go. The 11th win of the year for a head coach that has seen this franchise have 6 consecutive double-digit win seasons. This the 11th straight home win against Winnipeg. 9th in a row overall against the Bombers. Last Winnipeg quarterback to beat the Stampeders, Stefan LaForge. Wow. And a year before that, that sensational night in Winnipeg when Ryan Dinwiddie put up 450 yards against Calgary. But for the most part, over the last decade or so, Calgary has had Winnipeg's number.
And 9th straight year for Calgary in the playoffs, and as we mentioned, front runners for first place in the division. And that would mean 1 game away from a ticket to the Grey Cup, a return ticket.
Pass for Aaron Kelly is complete. And Max Hall will go the distance for the first time as the quarterback here. And one more play. Will Ford, best bomber on the night, gets the final touch. And this game is done. The 11th win of the year for John Cornish and the Calgary Stampeders as they hand the Bombers their 12th loss of the season. John Cornish over 200 yards in the game on the ground as the Stampeders romp 38-11, the final score from McMahon. So long, everybody. SportsCenter is now